Welcome to Retail Crime Uncovered, the go-to podcast for anything and everything retail crime related. I'm your host, Professor Emmeline Taylor. We've got a really fascinating guest joining us today. Trahern Pollard is the CEO of We Push for Peace. It's a non-profit organisation in the US, and its mission is to find ways to better bridge the gap between the business community and the communities in which they operate. It's a really interesting model that Trey has identified and developed over the years, and its success has seen him be invited to the White House several times and partner with some really big household names in the US to provide outreach workers as a security function to these stores. I first met Trey back in October 2022 in downtown Chicago, and I was on a research trip exploring some of, I guess, the most risky and difficult, challenging stores that were in operation in Chicago and New York, but also visiting some stores that actually managed to turn things around by innovating, thinking differently. And one of the key things that I found was the importance of community and for businesses to respect, understand, and employ members of the communities if they wanted to feel embedded, welcomed, and protected by them. Trey's work to really challenge the traditional security model and innovate in this space is really insightful and inspiring. I think you're going to enjoy this conversation.
Great to see you, Trey. It's lovely to have you on the show today. So you're the CEO of We Push for Peace. And I visited you in Chicago. I met you there. You showed me some interesting stores, let's just put it that way. And obviously I met so many of the team, and just so impressed with the work that you guys were doing. So just for the listeners, tell us a little bit about We Push for Peace. How did it come about as an idea?
First off, thanks for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to share a little bit more information about the organization and some of the things that we're doing. To be honest with you, the way it came about was, I would have little speaking engagements with young adults, men and women. From those speaking engagements, truthfully, the Lord put a little bit more on my heart, right? Like, I want you to do a little bit more than just have conversations. And in the beginning, I didn't really have any direction. And sitting down talking to my siblings, I have brothers and a sister. And my brother told me, he said, man, all you got to do is speak to your life. All you're doing is sharing you, right? A kid from the south side of Chicago that didn't always make the right choice and decision. And when I came home from prison, I had a lot of obstacles and challenges. And the number one thing that I had a challenge with was employment, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's so hard if you've got a criminal record.
When I started We Push for Peace, the narrative was to try individuals that has been just as involved to get employment. And then as I started formatting the organization and what I wanted to see for the organization, George Floyd happens.
Ah, right. Of course. Yeah. So that was Minneapolis. Is that right?
Yes, in Minneapolis. Yeah. And so,
okay.
And so then, I took the stance of, I didn't think that it was right being destructive to other businesses that didn't have anything to do with George Floyd. And so me and my staff started trying to prevent that from happening. We was out in the streets, very, 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 very dangerous at the time. We didn't think about that. We thought about a community that we loved.
And just for the listeners then, so obviously, it's a really awful incident that happened with the murder of George Floyd, and the aftermath of that was that there was civil unrest, there was looting, there was a lot of sort of activity on the streets. And so that's where you then stepped in to protect the businesses that you felt were not responsible, or is that right?
Well, yeah, I mean, just period, just the community, period. I mean, obviously, a lot
Mm,
of businesses operate, in different communities, right? And so, um, it wasn't a particular business. It was just the destruction, period. We just didn't feel
mm,
like that was appropriate. And so we was out there again trying to interact with individuals, trying to stop them from doing that, right? And
mm,
trying to, but not only trying to stop them, but trying to create a different platform for them to be able so that their voices could be heard, because that's what they were doing. They was expressing emotional hurt, in regards to what had happened to George Floyd. It was a little bit more personal for me. I knew Big G. I called him Big G. I interacted
wow,
with George
okay,
on.
I never knew that. Okay,
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah, G was my man. It's like he was the
Mm,
kindest dude ever. I mean, obviously, like a lot of people, he had some of his challenges, just like anybody else did. But
mm,
it didn't take away from the character of a person that he was. And
yeah.
so, in this process, um, a grocery store in Minneapolis is called Cub Foods. Um, we had stopped some individuals from going into this grocery store because in the area of Minneapolis, that grocery store was very essential. You have a couple of older folks' home buildings over there. They picked up their medication there. They did their little shopping there. So again, we tried to prevent people from going in there and tearing the store up. Unfortunately, we couldn't stand there for a long time, and they wound up getting in there anyway. So they destroyed the grocery store.
Mm,
And so when the civil unrest started calming down a little bit, um, Cub Foods reinvested the money and reopened the store. And I went up there to say, man, thank you so much, because this grocery store serves a bigger purpose than just groceries here, right? It's very
mm.
essential to a lot of our elders in North Minneapolis, etc. Unbeknownst to me, I was talking to the CEO.
Oh, wow, okay.
So the CEO says to me, here go my card. I want you to send me an email and let me know what a partnership would look like.
Fantastic. And so what year is this? Just put us back into the sort of chronology of when
Uh,
this happened.
this was 2020, 2019,
2020. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, cool. So the
2019, yeah.
CEO, he says, right, put together, what would this look like if we partner with your nonprofit organization? And so how did you then even start to put that together?
Honestly, and honestly, I didn't respond to him for about 3 days because I didn't know. I really wanted to take time, and I really wanted to think about what would it look like. In most cases, people just want some financial help so that they can do whatever it is that they have on their mind. And then, honestly, spiritually and through prayer, on that third day, I emailed him and I said, how about instead of you having law enforcement in your store, you allow the grassroots organization that lives in that community to be in the store? And he said, so what would you guys be doing? And I said, instead of you calling the police for them stealing a pack of chicken, how about we be there to provide a different service for them to find out why they're stealing and what other services that they
Mm.
can use through my grassroots organization?
Wow. And did you just see his like jaw hit the floor, or what was
I
his
kid you,
response?
I kid you not. You know what he said? Let's do it.
Amazing. Wow.
And
That is
so,
really incredible because it absolutely breaks from the mold of traditional security. I think you must have had the power of persuasion to get him on board with that. But I mean, the situation was so bad as well that I guess they were willing to try. It's worth a
yeah,
shot, isn't it?
but here's the deal, right? People have people have this ideology of public safety and feel like they can be effective in this regard just by having enough resources to do it.
Mm.
Well, they sadly mistaken. They are very sadly mistaken, right? See, my ideology behind putting somebody from that community in their stores, they know everybody.
Yeah. Okay.
And so when they come in the stores, like we know everybody. So it's like, hey,
Mm.
Tony, what you doing, man? What you doing, Tony? Come here. Let me talk to you for a minute, Tony. Like, we know
Mm.
everybody, so we know who doing what they trying to do, how they trying to do it. But it has grown tremendously. The CEO from Cub Foods then introduced me to the the executive director for loss prevention from Whole Foods. And so Whole Foods, I started in Minneapolis after I had a partnership with Cub Foods, and it has expanded. So with Whole Foods, so we are um, we in Minnesota, Milwaukee, Chicago, Detroit, St. Louis, and we just started out in New York.
Wow. Okay, that's new. Yeah, I don't think you were in New York when I met you last
Yeah,
year.
we just started out there 3 months ago.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome. And it just goes to show how well this model is working. You know, you've really tapped into a need there, I think. And so just explain then, what does the model look like? So it's community outreach, it's people being recruited from the communities in which they live to then protect the stores within those communities. Is that right? And is there a certain are they ex-offenders that you recruit, or?
And so you know, one of the things I stated early in our conversation is, again, my organization being a reflection of me, right? And
Okay.
when I came home, I couldn't get employment. So one of the things I stated to Mike Steigers, which is the former CEO of Cub Foods, was I don't want no barriers while I'm recruiting individuals to be a part of this program. And he said, don't worry about that. I got that covered. So spiritually, I'm like, okay, this is one of the things that I wanted to accomplish. I wanted to be able to provide individuals with employment. Boom, accomplished, right? So, and the same thing with Whole Foods. Um, I don't have any restrictions in regards to who I recruit, because those are going to be the most effective people, the ones that have real life, experience with this. Like, that's just what it is. And so
Definitely.
if you have any business owners or anything to that magnitude that's listening, the biggest thing is to integrate that business into that community, whereas that community starts taking care of that business, right? Don't be afraid to look into those avenues. I think that you'll see the rewards of it. And that's what, my partners have been able to witness firsthand. It's very impactful. You're helping individuals obtain employment, and then more importantly, the programs outside of the partnership that has been tremendously impactful. So, um, again, it works. It works, and it won't cost you as much either.
And what
So,
sort of training do these individuals get given? How are they, how do you prepare them for the role? Because it's a tough job that they've got. They're at the sort of forefront of their communities, aren't they, protecting these stores?
so again, when you have somebody that lived it, that was a part of it, what it looks like to them, it don't look like to you. Don't look like to you. So right, so that your average person that's never had to really experience things to that magnitude is like, life changing for them. Like, oh my God, you see those guys? Whereas somebody that's from that is like, oh, they ain't doing nothing, man, let me go over there and talk to them.
Yeah,
Right. And
okay.
so the
You're so
training,
right. Yeah. When I
yeah,
observed some of the interactions, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I would feel so intimidated. And
yeah,
then, the part of your team would just go over, hey, how you doing? It'd be really nice, very calm. There was no aggression. And I think what I was particularly impressed by was they just diffused the situation straight away. It just brought it right down to, hey, let's just have a chat. What's going on? And I just
yes,
thought that was so incredible. You don't get that
yes,
in the UK, I
yes.
don't think.
So I do a training with those guys, and the part of that training is de-escalation, de-escalation, de-escalation,
Mhm.
conflict resolution, conflict resolution, conflict resolution. Another part of the training is I certify my staff in Narcan, because a lot of what you see in some of those grocery stores and any and other retailers is, they're their restrooms is providing a space for them to use their drugs. And so just in 2023 alone, to date, we have administered Narcan probably 23 times, and we saved lives.
Wow.
And we
So
saved
what is
lives.
an Arcan? What does that stand for?
Narcan.
Oh, a Narcan.
Yes, when they use too many drugs and they're overdosing,
Yeah.
we squirt it in their nose, or we have an
Okay.
EpiPen and we
Yeah.
bring them out of that overdose stage, and they give us an opportunity to call the to get them services, man, so that we won't lose those individuals.
Wow. And so
so
23 times that's happened. And because it's such a big issue, isn't it, in terms of drug addiction, you know, in the US, in the UK. But I remember being quite shocked, actually, going into one of the really big department stores and asking to use the bathrooms, and them saying, no, we don't have them open to the public anymore, because, I mean, people were overdosing and dying in those spaces. It was really shocking for me.
And then but the biggest part of our training is, is making sure that our staff understand that whatever that individual is dealing with that day, rest assure you that you have nothing to do with it. You're just a recipient of what that person may be going through at that time, right? So you'll get the being called out of your name, called B's and H's and FU's, and at the end of the day, like you noted, like, we don't lose our cool, because we know that that's not for us. It can't be for me. I don't even know you, right? And at the end of the day, what I want to be able to do is, if I can today, I am going to share some contact information with you. And if I can't give it to you today, I'm sure I'll see you again, right? Because the underlying to what we want to do is, we want to provide services for the individuals we come in contact with. And that means more to me than anything. That means
definitely.
More to me than anything. So,
yeah.
And then, sometimes it's no matter what you do, no matter how you try to diffuse and de-escalate, you got the ones that's just, that just want to, like, I want to kill everybody in front of me, right? And so we've had some physical altercations in some locations, and not to a point where we administer hurt, but we didn't let them administer hurt either. So we essentially subdued them. Call the police. Hey, man, we need to, come get this young man. And then the police, obviously come assist us, and then they'll take him down, and then we'll go visit him while he's in the county jail, and then we go talk to him. But, like, we're not obviously trying to press charges against you or nothing like that. We just wanted to give you a pause, man. You obviously was very angry today. What's going on? How can we help you?
Wow,
Now,
that's incredible that you follow up. What's your relationship with the police like? So, somebody calls and, do they recognize your organization now? And so they know that you're well trained, you need assistance if you call them.
Yeah, so we administer a lot of help with doing the George Floyd, a lot. And law enforcement from all entities in Minneapolis has a profound respect for We Push for Peace and what we are effectively doing and trying to do. Oftentimes, because they're so short-staffed, if an average person called 911, it may take them some time to get there, right? They prioritize their calls. When the dispatcher say 911, this We Push for Peace, we on 26 and Humboldt, they coming immediately, no questions, no debates. We are like one of their priority calls. And oftentimes, if we call the police, it's simply because the situation has escalated beyond measures and somebody's life is at stake. But other than that, we don't call. We call 911. We need an ambulance, or we need the fire department. We don't call, because we're so well respected in communities we work in. We've never been faced with that adversity.
And you are so well respected that you got invited to the White House. Tell us a little bit about that.
So doing the work that I have been doing, because outside of being in the grocery stores and administering engagement and across the country, it allowed me to develop programs within my organization. I have a very intuitive work readiness program, and then I also have another program called REAP. Yeah, through my partnerships, it gives me an opportunity to have programs um, within the organization. So the work readiness program is, we help develop individuals to get back into the workforce, and so
Mm.
we give them the tools and the tools to be successful when they do that. And then we have the RE program. That's the reentry educational adult program, where individuals that's just as involved just coming home, and we have a program strategically for them. And through our partnerships, we can get them employed if we don't employ them ourselves. And
Wow,
then
fantastic.
the biggest program that we have is a free commercial driver's license program. And obviously that's life changing, right? That's not just a job, that's a career. And so I've been able to purchase my own 18 wheeler, hire my own staff, my own instructors. And so to date, we have a 100% success rate in our graduations from our commercial driver's license program. And what that does is when individuals get out in the workforce and they start developing their own business, like we've had a lot of students do, when they need drivers, they call the school. And
Mm.
so you want to know how to put a crutch in that revolving door. That's how you do it. If you can provide financial, housing, and food, right? The chances of an individual becoming violent when they have those things is like zero. When you take those things off the table, if you want to know what violence is stemmed from, is because they have a lack of housing, finances, and food, right? And that is a glutton for punishment. That's where the violence stems from. That's where it
Mm.
stems from. So,
That's
uh,
really, yeah, really insightful, definitely. The different companies that you've partnered with, it's primarily grocery, is that right?
yes, we primarily partner with grocers, and then at these locations, man. One of the part of the deal is, like I told them, is like you have to be a part of me integrating this business to this community.
Mm.
And they said, well, what does that mean? I said, well, when it come time for, so like I do a backpack giveaway when school is finna start back. Yeah, I make every last one of my locations come out of them stores and you be a part of this event, right? When the community feels like you're not just there to try to make money and that you actually care
Yeah.
about the community, that
Hmm.
community, that same community then starts taking care of your business.
Yeah, I mean, the way you say it, it's so simple. It's so obvious, isn't it? But then I guess so. It's really interesting. I mean, one of the things that's coming out of the US is, some of these major brands are now saying we're going to close down in some of these locations. They're too high risk. They're too violent. They're not profitable. Are those some of the businesses that you're able to reach out to, or how do you feel when companies make that decision and creating food deserts and people can't get their medicines? That's a really big problem from what I understand in the US.
It is, man. I've been hearing about this throughout the country, man. And it saddens me, man, because a lot of people get affected when that happens.
Mm.
I mean, and then here's the deal. I understand that, people are not in business to lose. They're not. I get
Mm.
that. But I think as though, what I feel as though is that you should exhort all possibilities before you close them doors.
I
Because
agree. Yeah.
before society has become what it is, where the thefts is up and what have you, right? How long was you operating in that same community? What was your
Mm.
profits? What was the profits that you had before all of these thefts started happening? And if you go back over the course of those 15 years versus these 3 years, right? Yeah, you should be willing to reinvest in that community that you had 15 years of profit in,
Yeah.
right? And so, and yeah, that saddens me a great deal. And like I said, I get it. Like, people don't go into business to lose money. I get it.
Mm.
But let's think about the 15, 20 years that you was profitable,
Yeah,
right? And so
definitely. Yeah.
the first sign of trouble, right? You pack up and leave the community high and dry, the same community that sustained you for 20 years.
Mm.
right? So,
Absolutely, yeah. There's an ethical side to it as well, isn't there? I think. So just in terms of those communities, do you think, that sounds exactly where your model would work best? Do you, just for people who aren't familiar with We Push for Peace, do you replace the more traditional security model, or do you work alongside them? So would you have other security officers in place, or is it purely We Push for Peace that will be in those stores?
so in all of my locations currently right now, it's just me. I
Mhm.
actually replaced a lot of these security companies, and the reason
Mhm.
being is because some of these security companies, not all, some of these security companies, man, they be in there watching movies on their phones. They not in there working no damn way. They not even in there doing nothing. Whereas that you got a grassroots organization that's not security,
Yeah.
that's just simply in there engaging with the community. Hey, how you guys doing today? Let me know if you need anything. Get on the radio. Hey man, we got a guy over here putting some detergents in his backpack. Hey man, let me holler at you for a minute. What's up, man? Hey, let me talk to you for a minute, man. Listen, man, at the end of the day, how about we go to the register and let me buy that for you.
Hmm.
If I buy this for you, are you going to give me an opportunity to have a conversation with you? Yeah, bro, we can talk. That's all I want anyway.
Wow, that's
That's
so
all I want.
powerful.
Yeah, that's all I want anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
When we interact with someone that's stealing, right? Say we had a single mother 3 days ago, had a cart full of food trying to walk out the grocery store. And ironic, I was there. So I said to her, I was like, where you going with the cart? And she was like, I'm going to my car. I was like, well, you just went past the registers, right? So she started laughing and I'm like, well, you just kind of went past the registers. And I said, listen, you obviously know you can't leave out of here with with this grocery cart. How about we take some of those items that you really need? Let me pay
Mm.
for them. And then I got some resources for you that'll prevent you from coming in here doing that again.
Wow.
Right. Now
Gosh, yeah.
I didn't pay for the whole cart, but the stuff that she really needed, yeah, I paid for it. Because for
Mm.
a nonprofit, it's a write-off anyway. Right?
Yeah, that's
It's a write-off anyway.
incredible.
And
Gosh.
so that's how you start changing that narrative. So, and we're not just in the high crime, impoverished areas. We do this in some of the higher end areas as well, because believe it or not, thieves are really, really intelligent, just so you know, right? They really, really, really smart. So they know that all the good stuff is in the higher end stores. So guess what? They will go to the higher end stores to steal higher
Mm.
end stuff because they can make more money off of it.
Wow. So the sort of the better brands perhaps are in the high end stores, and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so we in those spaces too, man. But at the end of the day, man, I have the pleasure of my children working for the organization, right? I have one of my sons is the vice president of the organization. My daughter runs the day-to-day operations in Chicago. My sister is the executive director of programming. So like I tell my family all the time, man, when you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
I love it. That's such a great philosophy to have. I had no idea it was such a family setup as well. That's really nice. They must be super proud of their dad. You've gone from prison to the White House. I mean, who has that journey? It's incredible.
And then speaking of which, the White House. So right after the George Floyd era kind of started calming down, I was doing quite a few interviews and such on CNN, and so one of the White House representatives reached out to me and said, "Man, we would like to talk to you about public safety around the country." So it was me and two other organizations that they flew out there, and it was a pilot program to see what was hindering grassroots organizations from really excelling in the communities in which they work in. And so we went back to them, and every last one of us said it was almost like 1, 2, 3, go. And we said funding, funding.
Mm, mm.
And so we did an 18-month pilot program with some of the grassroots organizations across the country. We made sure that funding was available for them immediately, not all this red tape. And every last one of those programs excelled, seeing results immediately, so forth and so on. Then we all came back to the White House, got an opportunity to meet President Biden and his staff, and then I spoke And then
Wow, how did that feel? Were you nervous? Like, I get the sense you're somebody who doesn't get nervous, but
I
how
don't.
did it feel?
I didn't, because again, because you speak into something that you do every day. You speak into something that you're very passionate about. And so when I spoke, I was just saying to him, how imperative it is and important it is to, even when you award someone a grant, to make sure that they have access to those funds, because those funds are very essential in the work that we do. Um, and so it was very impactful. A lot of organizations, like I stated before, it has grown tremendously. And actually we headed back out there in February, to reconvene, and it's another pilot program that they want us to be a part of. So
Wow,
I'm looking forward.
fantastic.
I'm
That's
looking
good
forward to it.
times. Brilliant. Gosh, I mean, you're just a regular now, I guess, just chatting away with President Biden and the rest of them.
Yeah, again, it's like, I love what I do. I don't feel like I work a day in my life, man. I love interacting. I love interacting with people. I love helping people. Um, Although it's very challenging, I'd rather be doing something versus nothing at all.
Yeah. What are some of the challenges that you're seeing coming up in the US in terms of retail and safety, violence, theft? What are some of the trends that you're seeing?
A lot of thefts, man. You spoke to
Mm,
it. You spoke to it. It's a lot of, your Targets, your Walmarts, some of the grocery stores, even the ones that I service. I mean, you would you would never think in a million years that you would have to lock up damn detergent. Like,
mm,
it's sad, man. It's really sad. And you know, so a lot of these retailers unfortunately are faced with closing the doors. And so now
mm.
that becomes a real hindrance to that community, right?
Yeah.
What has been there for 25, 30 years is no longer there.
Mm,
So and then, gun violence is trending in the same regard it did last year at this time. A lot of senseless crimes, a lot of senseless murders, a lot of senseless shootings. Um, Car thefts, is the percentages is going down right now.
mm.
Percentages is going down right now, simply because manufacturers are equipping their cars, to be more safety ready. So those trends are going down. Um,
Mm.
yeah, so that's pretty much what's happening across
Yeah.
the U.S. right now.
What do you think is driving that increase in theft, where you've got everyday products like Tide, laundry, detergent, things like that being stolen?
So what they do is they'll go in one grocery store, they'll steal these Tide pods, detergents, and then they'll go to another grocery store and stand outside and sell them for lesser of the price, to essentially fulfill an addiction problem that they have. A lot
So
of
it's
people.
mostly down to drugs, do you think that?
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
It's down to drugs. It's definitely
Mm,
down to drugs. Um, and so that's what's stemming, as it pertains to, like, these different thefts that goes on in the grocery stores. Um, and then, as far as retailers, like, say, clothes and shoes, it's the same thing. It's they're stealing to go sell to make money.
mm,
So if I'm there to say, listen, I got an employment opportunity for you. You ain't got to be in here stealing. You can actually come in here and buy.
mm-hmm.
I kid you not, 7 out of 10 of the individuals I run in contact with is young men or women, and giving them the opportunity to be employed, they take it. They
Wow,
take it.
incredible. Yeah, and start having a more sort of productive life, definitely. Who's buying the stolen goods? We so often focus on the people who's stealing them, but where's the demand coming from? Is it just everyday people that
Yeah, I mean, so, like, say you finna walk in the grocery store and somebody in the parking lot, and you finna go buy some Tide Pods or some detergent, and you finna go pay $45, $50 for some damn Tide Pods, and he's selling them for 20. That's an easy decision for a lot of people to make. Give
yeah.
me all of them. Give me all of them. And that's what they do. They'll buy them and get back in their car and leave. Now the consumer that has lost, and then the consumer that was potentially going to make money off the product is not even making it. So now you got two consumers that lost in that situation.
Yeah, it's that supply and demand, isn't it?
Yeah, and then, inflation. Everything is so high. I remember when you used to buy detergent for $7.99. Shit, them damn detergents now is $29.99.
Yeah.
And so that's what's driving it.
Definitely. I just wanted to pick up on, so you talked about George Floyd, and I was in a store, it was in Chicago, and in this big grocery store, and I was just chatting to some of the customers about some of the security tagging that had been introduced and like all these different security measures in store. And she said something really interesting to me. She said, "Oh, you'll find this is only in these neighborhoods." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Yeah, it's only in the black neighborhoods." Whoa, I mean, that's just, for someone just to come up to me and say that, but it's an issue, isn't it? People feel that it's deprived neighborhoods. Well, there's a racial element sometimes to security. What are your views on that? How do you overcome it? Because I still get this sense that there's a huge amount of sort of division in a way that you don't get in other countries.
That's what they done essentially allowed themselves to believe, right?
Okay.
Theft is going on everywhere. It's just magnified in the black communities.
Okay. Yeah.
That makes more sense. Like, you get something that happened in the black community, it'll be on CNN. But when it happens in some of these white communities, you won't ever even hear about it, so you never know what's going on. Well, in turn, that's where it's happening the most.
Yeah. And do you feel the businesses are unfair in the way that they secure products? Do you think there is that element to it, or?
Well, I mean, honestly, I think that they confine to where they having the most thefts in their stores, and then they report. So I don't think it got anything to do with black and white, personally.
Yeah.
If you having more thefts in a store that you have in a predominantly black area, like, okay, well, if you looking at your reports and you continuously seeing loss, okay, well, you got to try to do something to combat that, right? So in their minds, let's lock it up. When somebody need to come over here, at least we know specifically who got it, who need to pay for it. If you're not getting them same reports in, say, suburban Caucasian neighborhood, well, what's the purpose of locking it up? You're not having the same issues. So that has nothing to do with, I don't think it has anything to do with black and, with culture. But if that's what the reports is reading, then but I mean, a lot of things in America is attested to black and white. That's what they've done. That's what society has taught us, unfortunately.
Wow, Trey, it has been awesome. And I'm also aware that it's probably freezing cold in your car and you're sat there so patiently whilst I grill you with questions. But it's been amazing.
It's cool. I mean, my heat is on. I'm good to go.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't going to miss this call.
Oh, it has been so nice to catch up with you. Honestly, I could chat to you all day long. You're so interesting, so inspiring. The work you're doing is amazing, and the fact that the president is interested is just testimony to just how incredible and hardworking you are. And thank you for being on the episode.
Well, when I met you, I told you, if you need anything, to just make sure you let me know. And so when you sent me the email, I said, absolutely, I'll get on the call. I thought twice about it, especially when you sent me the time difference. I was like, well, I hope she don't think I'm going to be up at 4 o'clock.
What time is it there?
It is 10:43 now.
Oh, okay. That's much more civilized. Okay, that's good.
Again, thank you so much for the time that I had the opportunity to speak with you.
Oh, thanks so much for your time.